Hello, and welcome back to a new episode on the Lunar Nation podcast. I hope everyone is having a great day. This is your host, Franz, joined by my fellow co hosts, Sagun and Arrow. Today, we'll be discussing a significant yet unrecognized or well known topic, which is the circadian clock. What is the circadian clock, you might ask, and how does that affect us? The circadian clock, also known as the circadian rhythm, is a natural internal process that regulates the sleep wake cycle and repeats roughly every 24 hours. A part of the body's internal clock running in the background to carry out essential functions and processes. Different systems of the body follow circadian rhythms that are synchronized with the master clock in the brain. This master clock is directly influenced by environmental cues, especially light, which is why circadian rhythms are tied to the cycle of day and night. A properly aligned circadian rhythm can lead to a healthy and long life, while throwing off the rhythm can cause future. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the circadian clock today, and what is it? So, as one of our goals as humans is to enjoy a long and healthy life, to live at our peak physical, intellectual, and emotional performance. But we as humans suffer from infectious disease, chronic diseases, brain conditions, and other physical injuries. So, what is throwing this off? What's causing these diseases? Why? How can we live a better lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle? I'm going to be talking with Arrow and Sagoon to see how we can discuss this circadian clock and how it can make us live a better and healthier lifestyle. So, which one of you guys wants to take over and talk a little bit more in depth about this topic?
Hey, thanks, Franz. This is Sagoon. I'll just be, taking over the ship. I just wanted to talk about, in the sense of, how you can live a better lifestyle with the circadian clock. Like you mentioned, it is basically a cycle that rises and falls during the 24-hour day. So, to make our cycle and to have it, be proper, you have to make sure to have good sleep. So, you have to make sure to, sleep at the right time at night and then wake up at a certain time in the morning. So you have to get your 8 hours in as well. And also, it's also your proper eating habits as well. You can't just eat like junk food all the time and, expect your body to be like strong, You have to
Right,
have a
right.
you have to maintain a healthy diet, eat your broccolis, eat your carrots,
Your
make sure
momos.
eat your momos, everything that is healthy and that will make you more stronger and more happier is what you should be consuming.
Okay, so let's step one step back. So the circadian clock is basically a clock for the body of a human body. So what it means is we operate on a 24-hour system, and our organs, our mental ability, our sleep, everything's interconnected. So in a weird way, if you imagine it, your body is like a power plant. There are certain times that different divisions within the power plant shut down, and there's certain times that they're awakened and they're at its most productivity. So the circadian clock is an overview of we need to get our sleep, when is the best times to eat, best times to explore, go outside, your most access, like when you're most active. That's the circadian clock. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna explore it more in depth. What's important about it? How can we use it to our advantage? And you know what? I know Sagoon. You know how in US we have like a lot of diseases.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that circadian clock. If hypothetically this rule was made for everyone, we want to have as many sick people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I mean, you see, like, people in the hospital with, heart disease conditions. Like, even some of my family members, they've had it too. So it's because of the I would say the imbalance of what they've had. All these different diseases occur because of that. But if we have this kind of like, I guess I call it like an equilibrium of this cycle itself, make sure that you properly take care of yourself, be healthy. It limits your chances of exposing yourself to these diseases. So that's what I kind of think, and I really really emphasize on the circadian cycle, as I myself tried to follow this so I can be as healthy as possible.
I want to add one interesting note to the audience. So, the circadian clock, you may think, oh, what are these guys talking about? Like, what? Body has certain times? Are you serious? No. Here's the reality. It is our belief that for sure our body works with the universe, and how we interact with our environment and our sleeping time, our whole psychological behavior, our mental stability, our health ability, everything is intercorrelated. That's based on my belief, and I'm thinking Sagun is the same.
Yeah, it is.
So this, Franz, you have something to say about that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to go more in depth into that. Actually, in regards to the circadian clock, I didn't really know what it was until about a year ago. Actually, Arrow brought it up to me through a video that he had showed me. So I really had no idea what a circadian clock was. I thought it was like another name for like a grandfather clock, to be honest. So I had honestly no idea
Sounds
what it was.
ancient. It sounds ancient. I don't know, to me.
So basically I did a little more research on it, and what I found out is that the circadian clock, there's actually within the last like 10 to 15 years, there's more research and articles and documents provided by scientists that they've done research on, especially because the circadian clock is not just for humans, it's for animals, it's for plant, it's basically for any living organism. Everyone has a night and day cycle. And what they've actually found is, especially when doing tests on animals, is that when they had animals run on a circadian rhythm, those animals, specifically, they were running tests on rats. Those rats lived a healthier and longer lifestyle. So they didn't develop as many diseases, such as, like there's heart diseases prone right now, or cancer and whatnot. And what I wanted to talk about is interesting fact. I didn't really know the science behind it, but our body has actually anywhere from 20 to 25,000 genes. Now, those genes are all connected to the circadian rhythm, or clock, as you want to call it, based on what these scientists and scholars have said. And if just to connect it back to how Arrow connected it to a power plant, I want to connect it more in depth to a car. So think about a car. There's thousands of parts in a car. Let's say just how we have 20,000 genes, a car has 20,000 parts. If a single part on that car starts to rust or fall apart, that car eventually is going to deteriorate and either break down or going to have more issues. So it's just like the human body. Those 20,000 genes, you start taking them out of place, or you start doing something that's what it's not meant to do, or uh, treating it badly or treating it poorly. The same is going to happen to you eventually down the road, and you're going to have a negative effect on your body.
Okay, okay. So let me get a little bit more in depth. I don't want to give out too much information about the circadian clock, but so here's a cool fact about the circadian clock. At 10 a.m., you're supposed to be at your highest alertness, just based on the sun and everything that's aligned at that moment in time.
It doesn't work on everyone.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Maybe they're just their sleep schedule is off, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was
So,
I was gonna say about me, because at 10 a.m. I still feel sleepy.
well,
So
here's the thing. That all relates to like habits. And like we covered that episode about habits. So, the circadian clock is basically a habit. If you create this strong habit, I am very sure that you're gonna have a very healthy life. So let me get it more in depth. You're you're gonna have the best coordination according to the circadian clock at 2:30. At 3:30, you're gonna have the fastest reaction time. At 5 is basically the most your muscles and your efficiencies and strengths are at its greatest point.
so
So it's
gym
kind of
time.
like the Avatar in the Last Airbender kind of thing, like I guess you have
Yeah,
that little fire burning hot in you, and you just have more power at that time. I don't know, but I'm always curious to know what it is.
it's just something inside you just is like, yo, I'm just gonna be strong now.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
uh,
I'm sorry.
no,
Franz,
did you?
you were gonna.
No, my bad. I wanted to add something, but if you were still going on,
No, no.
continue,
Let me
finish,
just
and then
let me
I'll.
just finish my
Yeah.
like
Okay.
quick snap. So at 7, your body is basically the highest body temperatures at 7 p.m. I'm pretty sure no everyone's gonna be like, no, you're wrong. But anyways, that's just how the circadian clock is. Your body is at its deep, or is supposed to be, for any of you who is awake at 2 a.m. And maybe some of you may complain,
Probably
oh,
probably Arrow
no,
watching it.
I used to be in that scenario. So let me tell you from my experience. When I was
If
awake at
used to be is like a week ago, then okay, thank you.
no, it was not a week
Yeah.
ago. It was
No, I
when
feel like it was a week ago, Arrow.
About a week ago.
hey, listen. Let me get into the details about this. Deep, yeah, I'm gonna connect it to why I was awake and what was the results of that. So me being awake at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. obviously really messed up my schedule of sleep. So when I woke up, it's probably like 1 p.m. and my day was totally gone. Because at the end of the day, you gotta remember, at nighttime, everyone's asleep. What are you gonna do at nighttime? You just go watch TV. That's a waste of time. Like we covered in 84,600 seconds. So if it's the best time to sleep is at 10 p.m., your deepest sleep is supposed to be at 2 a.m., which basically means your melatonin, which is I don't know specifically, Franz, you know what the melatonin is?
I believe that's a specific like hormone or chemical your body produces.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
your hormone melatonin. And obviously do not have your phone right next to you when you're sleeping because they have blue light.
Oh yeah, you can't be
Eh,
checking out. You can't be going on social media, all that stuff.
yeah,
Even though
yeah.
you're tempted to,
So your
before you
deepest,
sleep.
yeah. So your deepest sleep is at 2, and it's very much your body shut down moment. You have to give your body the time because according to, I think Franz, you can relate to this when you saw that video where the scientists said that people who had like abstract schedules and they weren't following this circadian clock had were prone to diseases such as ADHD, high blood pressure, certain cancers. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of chronic disease and like brain conditions,
Yeah.
um, for sure.
So I just want to conclude by saying that the circadian clock is basically a natural clock that was already embedded in us from the evolutions like of time. And if we follow the system, we're good. But if we don't, obviously we're gonna find that virus within us and obviously collapse. So just imagine your body like an iPhone, and there's certain softwares that you're just meant to use. And if you're using a software that you're just making up out of your mind, and you're not following the system, you can expect yourself to be in
To
not a
get a
good
malware
position.
virus basically on the iPhone.
You're
Yeah,
gonna be
and
hacked.
obviously don't feel good, and I guess have mental problems. I'm not a
Oh yeah.
therapist,
Oh
so
yeah, for sure. I was just kind of thinking, like, just after this podcast, are you guys thinking of, following this circadian thing, or are you guys just thinking like it's just too much going on in your life to actually follow this? Because the circadian kind of thing is it's basically like a, I guess, ideal thing of what you have to do, but with life, right? Stuff happens. You're not going to get that perfect balance, So I want to hear your
okay.
thoughts.
I'm gonna
Right.
say it first, and then I'm gonna let Franz take over. My
Okay.
opinion, circadian clock is a habit. It's in my philosophy is like a Bruce Lee habit, where you're like top notch player or a Mad Dog player, according to my philosophy. And if you follow this, you have a good habit. Everything will be good. So that's my belief.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's a habit. It's sometimes I think we're just so accustomed to living, day by day, doing one thing different today, something different tomorrow. So, it's definitely something that you got to create a habit on. You got to be aware of it, and I think with a little bit of time and effort, you could definitely put yourself on a right schedule and get yourself on the right rhythm with their circadian clock. It's something that I would like to get more in depth in and actually follow. Again, sometimes we as humans procrastinate. Oh, we're gonna do it. We'll do it next week. We'll start tomorrow. This and that. But at the end of the day, you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting anyone else because you
Exactly.
want to start early on this so you can have a good longevity with your life. So again, I agree with Arrow as in regards to it's a habit, but it's up to us on that end of the day to make it our priority and our mindset to follow that habit and create a good lifestyle and good schedule around it.
Yeah, it's the motivation inside you, I think. It's like if you're really motivated and you really want to do this, then you are going to achieve it, right? It's
Right,
even
right,
like I just think of it like, working in the gym, working out. If you're really motivated and you're gonna, lift those heavy weights, soon you can lift heavier weights. You have that motivation, to become like muscular, ripped, lift
right.
some,
And
cars.
it's and
I
it's
don't
not to interrupt you. It's I mean it's understandable because I mean you're looking at it. It's like is it really like being a robot following like a schedule, same schedule every day? I wouldn't say it's like following the same schedule. You just gotta make sure that you're getting enough sleep. You're
Yeah,
being
exactly.
active during the right time. So again, not everyone's schedule is going to be the same, but as long as you follow some basic rules, you can definitely achieve that that right schedule for the that right rhythm for the circadian clock.
You know what's funny when Sagun mentioned that workout thing? I was thinking of that video of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and which where he's like, "Oh, I really enjoy working out, and when work out at the gym, it feels like I am having sex with a woman." And he's like, "I come at
Wow.
home." He's like, "I come at home and I also have sex with women." He's like, "So can you imagine how much I'm in heaven? I'm having sex day and night." Obviously, he doesn't use the word sex. He uses the specific word. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, so we'll just keep
Yeah,
that
let's keep
blank.
this PG, Arrow.
We'll keep that blank. But if any of you guys are interested, obviously it's online, so look it up yourself. But here's the scenario. Franz, go ahead, say something.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I wanted, I know, I wanted to cut, I didn't want to cut you off earlier, but I wanted to get in. I know you said when you were mentioning like the circadian clock in regards to like the specific time, like 7 a.m. here and 5 a.m. there and whatnot. Um, from what I researched or from what I've seen, you are on the right track. I don't know if because I think everyone has like different schedules for the most part, but I think there's a time frame that it lasts in between. So I don't think it's like exactly you have to do this on the dot at like 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. I think you have like a grace period of like I think like a few hours to take care of what you need to take care of. From what I know is I think there's six basic rules that you need to follow with the circadian clock, and the first one being you have to get at least a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and you have to do this at a consistent time. It's not like you can, fall asleep at 10 p.m. one day and then the next day you go to sleep at 2 a.m. because you're falling off rhythm. So you have to be consistent with your times and get at least a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The second one, oh, what were we saying?
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing that's I find it really interesting. Um, so the word circodian is in it. So apparently it has a Latin meaning, which means around a day, and I find it really unique that we have that. And also, I forgot to mention in our last episode, the word pyramid in Latin means fire in the middle. So we should this knowledge kind of exists probably in my thought process is what the
Arrows
Romans
bringing
knew
some
about that.
Latin gems.
Thank you for cutting me off. I thought you were going to connect it to what I was saying, but you really went off topic with that one.
Arrow, the Latin
I
master.
just want to add that it has a land roots to it. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's great, buddy. Maybe you can add it
Okay, thank
afterwards
you.
once I'm done. Okay.
Thank you, Arrow.
So
All right,
continuing forward, I mentioned the six rules. The rule one is getting consistent amount of sleep every day. The second one is actually as you're transitioning from the night mode to the day mode, your night hormones go down and your day hormones go up. So basically, it's saying that you don't want to eat or avoid eating for the first hour while your body is fully preparing because it's not going to digest food correctly if you eat before that 1 hour time frame. The third rule is to do intermittent fasting. So eat at consistent times throughout the day, but eat obviously, healthy foods and, not per se counting calories, but you have to have an idea of what you put in your body. And again, don't overindulge. The fourth rule being that you have to get at least 30 to 60 minutes of daylight each day at a minimum, whether it's, just going outside, laying down in the sun, whether you're walking outside, whatever it may be, you got to get that, vitamin D for 30 to 60 minutes every day. Go out, enjoy the day, take a breath of fresh air, do what you got to do. The fifth rule is also, connected to the fourth rule. You have to do daily exercise, particularly in the afternoon. late afternoon to the evenings, that's actually when your muscles, from what they've seen, are most efficient during the afternoon time. So, whether it's working out at a gym or working outside, you can knock, the daylight, 30 to 60 minutes daylight with exercise at one time. And then the sixth rule, which is actually important, is when you're winding down, so you're getting ready to go to sleep, 2 to 3 hours before bed, they say it's actually good to reduce the lighting, because that's what they say is when your daytime hormones are starting to prepare to go to shut off, and your nighttime hormones are going to start to reactivate. So reducing that light, and also, as Arrow mentioned before, um, not having a phone by your side, because that light is going to affect you. So reducing the lighting 2 to 3 hours before time, and also to stop eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed will also help. So these are just six rules that are important to run at least an efficient circadian clock schedule. I know that Eric was mentioning like some specific time frames, which obviously he was correct on. I know there's like grace periods. You want to at least go to sleep, within like 10 to 11 o'clock. So
Exactly.
you want to follow at least a decent schedule, so you don't throw yourself off balance.
I
Yeah,
want
you
to.
can.
Sorry,
You can.
I just want to
Oh,
say
okay. Go ahead. Go
one
ahead.
real quick cool fact, and then I'm gonna jump off. Um, the circadian clock obviously is the body of the clock, but did you know that our cells within our body can tell the time just based on the Earth's rotation pull?
No way.
Yes, yeah. So it's
Well,
actually, yeah. Go ahead.
I know Sagun got really surprised, so I want to know his reaction. But Franz,
No,
you
no, no.
probably don't know
It's
about it.
some people don't know everything like you, Arrow. So go ahead.
He's this guy's a genius boy.
We call him the Albert Einstein of this podcast. So
Oh yeah.
All right, Franz. I appreciate that, Sagun. Next time I see you, I'm gonna collect $1 from that. But anyways, Franz, you were gonna go on more
Yeah.
detail.
So what you were mentioning with us knowing what was the exact word, this in regards to the Earth? I forgot what was that word that you said. We know
Okay,
the gravitational pull of the Earth. What was it that
the
you mentioned?
rotation of the
Rotation
Earth.
of the Earth. There you go. Yeah. So if you actually lock yourself up in a room, or like an apartment, for example, and you don't go outside, and you just run a normal day, your body will actually start to get tired or sleepy around 10 o'clock, and that's without you having a clock or whatnot. And so you'll basically run the circadian rhythm without you even knowing it. So your body's going to get tired at a certain time. You're going to go to sleep by like 3-4 hours later, around let's say 2 a.m., you're going to be in a deep sleep. Then another 4 hours later, your daytime hormones are going to start to activate, and your nighttime hormones are going to start to deactivate. And then a few hours later, your body's actually naturally going to wake up itself. And this is again, without you having a clock, without you being outside and knowing whether it's day or nighttime. Your body knows it by itself, so it's actually running on that circadian motor without you even knowing it.
yeah. I just wanted to add quickly. So it's basically like you can adjust it, right? Like I think Franz mentioned it and Arrow mentioned it. Based on your work life balance, you can make sure that like maybe one day you go to the gym at like 6 p.m. Doesn't mean that you have to go straight on the dot at 5 p.m., 4 p.m., right? So just make sure that you try to follow the cycle as best as you can, right? And like before you sleep, make sure like try to dim it. I mean, that's something that I want to do myself. I don't know about you, Arrow and Franz. It's like to do that, because I feel like it would just have a significant effect when you wake up in the morning. I think it will give you that kind of energy. Like right now, like when I mentioned, I feel so tired at like 10 a.m. Maybe that's cause I have a lot of screens. I'm attached to the screen, so that's something that I'm gonna strive and try to improve myself.
Yeah, it's just a good. Yeah, what I think you're saying is you want to be a soldier boy and you want to
Oh, of
follow the.
course, bro. I mean, Arrow, you're my motivation, by the way. So I
Yeah,
want to be just
yeah.
like you.
I I feel like you could go back in time and go to Stalingrad and fight out the battles because that's like pretty much like a very very harsh environment. But anyways, getting back to the circadian clock, I want to give a cool information to like the listeners. And there's so there's a scientist who did a test on a group of mices. So they split into two groups, A and B. And what they did is they give the same exact amount of food. So both groups had the same exact amount of food. But what the difference was that one group was getting food anytime it wanted. Like it was just anytime, but it was the same amount. While group B was basically food given at certain times. The end result that they found was the group of mice in group A, which was like given any time, were 30% more fatter. And the one that was given at certain times was 30%, I believe like 25% or some odd percentage muscled. So it's weird, but it's really cool that they had the same exact amount of food, but one developed muscles and the other one became a cheese buff.
So it is just meant to be, right? Just based on the different exposures that they have. Even animals itself, right? So it's interesting to like, living organisms and how like they're kind of related to us as well, right? Like how it's very interesting to me. It's very
Yeah,
fascinating.
I know this is really interesting. I want to make one point. I know Franz has to say something, but if if hypothetically everyone followed the circadian clock, how much percentage of people do you think will we decrease just by the fact that we see? Like, imagine there's 100 people in the hospital right now.
What do you mean
But
decrease? Are you talking
so,
about
so
decrease
like,
like
so here's the question: like, imagine there's 100 people in the hospital right now
Yeah.
because they don't follow a circadian clock kind of lifestyle. But once they follow it, right? Suppose how many of those 100 people will be in the hospital?
I mean, it depends on the disease,
Yeah.
but like we mentioned earlier, a lot of these diseases are prone, like heart disease, liver disease, cancer, and whatnot. These are all obviously there's other factors that come into play. You know, what you eat, what you put inside your body, what you're inhaling,
Mm,
how
yeah,
you live your life, and then there's other like genetics that come
yeah.
into play. But I feel like if people actually lived out a circadian rhythm throughout their lives, I feel like it would drastically decrease the amount of diseases that we're seeing. And I know heart disease and cancer are like a big thing, especially in the United States and around the world as well in the developed nations. So I think that would uh, we would see a drastic decrease in those types of
Okay.
cases.
I just want to add something real cool. I know I added it before, but it just makes sense to add it back again. So remember last time when I mentioned diseases are not just caused out of nowhere. Diseases are basically it's when it's a here's my quote. It's not my quote. I just heard it. It was really cool.
Air
And
strength steel
and
quotes.
and basically what the guy said is when your body is at is when it's your body is not at ease, meaning you're not stabilized, then your body creates disease. So the circadian clock is your cells, is everything. It's already doing their job, but then you, being the mad scientist you are, you're gonna do something different. So you're not gonna create your body at ease. So obviously you're gonna have all these diseases come.
Yeah, that's interesting because one thing leads to another. I mean, it's like a domino effect. You know, one day you start getting like a depression, anxiety, and that leads to another thing and one thing, and then it all piles up at the end. And again, it's not something that occurs within a year or two. It's something that occurs over the span of a lifetime. And at the end, you're left with a whole bunch of issues that taking some pills is not going to really work. It's something that you got to take action on your own in the
Yeah.
beginning stages of life to really live out the golden years in peace and enjoy it.
Exactly. And one thing that I just thought of is I just think like our society itself might not even encourage like this kind of cycle itself, because like the American culture is like you're just like, going, you live for the weekend, right? But in the weekend, are you really gonna go and be like, I'm going to follow the circadian rhythm and do this? And like people in the weekend, they go out, they explore, they go camping, they go, go out with their friends, go to the beach, all that stuff, right? Do they really have that motivation? I like personally, I don't really think so because of just how like people are exposed. Like what I learned myself is like my friends are like, oh, do you want to hang out or do this, right? So I don't have that time in that day to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, like at this time I'm gonna work out or this, right? So it's kind of like it's hard, but you gotta kind of like, I guess, force yourself to do it,
That's
right?
also in
Try to
part
be
because you're a curfew boy. So
All
Oh
right.
no, I mean that. Let's not talk about curfew.
Let's keep that the box story out of the story anyways. But here, what I want to say is one really cool fact is, I mean, I don't know if it's cool or it's normal or it's
Are you a
abnormal,
fact guy?
but listen to this. Like,
you've been saying a
you
lot of
know,
cool facts today.
so
Yeah, a lot.
okay, maybe I did repeat myself a lot, but one thing I find it really intriguing. There we go, new word is when I came across this post on Instagram where the guy put a post on like saying when people decide to eat good and natural food, they consider it a diet, but when they eat like chicken, burgers, fries, pizza, they consider it food. So they were like, "How are our brain functioning now that we eating so much junk food that we consider it food, and when we're eating natural food, we consider it a diet?" Isn't that funny?
No, that is interesting, but it's just like I feel like all these corporations and stuff, right? And they're like when you look at ads, on TV, you're gonna see all these McDonald's, Burger King, all that stuff, right? I mean, you're not gonna see like all the healthy, oh, let's eat this, oh, a salad or something. You're not gonna see that, but it's the investment that they have, right? They're trying to get you hooked
We're
into
we're
it.
gonna we're gonna have an episode on
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
That's
sure.
that's an episode on its own. But Franz, do you have any words to add to this?
Yeah, I actually wanted to point out something very interesting, and I don't think a lot of people may have noticed this, but trying to word this shortly, not make a long story short, but if you guys actually look at it, so the circadian clock wasn't really observed until like the 1700s, but it's said that people I know lifespan, people lived it maybe depending on the timing, but let's say 1,000 years ago they only lived to like up to like 30 to 40 years old, and that was due to because obviously technology wasn't advanced, medicine wasn't advanced, and people died from war, disease, and whatnot, rabies. We had like the Black Death in the like 13th century, I believe it was, or 14th century. But people back then, because there wasn't electricity or technology as advanced now, they ran a more subconsciously they were running a circadian clock or rhythm on their own without even knowing it, because they were it got dark, let's say around 9:30, depending on the time of the year. They would get ready to go to bed, do that 8 hours of sleep, get up in the morning, take care of what they need to do, their work, whatever, it got done. If you look at the statistics back then, a lot of the people were living a healthier lifestyle per se, but there was a lot of issues with people being poor and whatnot, but that's a different topic. Either way, people were not as obese as not right now. I believe the statistic says in the United States alone, I think people are, I think it's 60 to 70% of the population is either obese or getting close to becoming overweight or obese. So back then, people were living a healthier lifestyle, but yet they were, dying earlier because, like I said, infectious disease, war, and whatnot. Now, as time has progressed, technology got better, medicine got better, and people are living longer. However, because things such as the internet, we got the phones right now. People are staring at the screens. People are socializing online instead of in person. The lighting effect, light pollution. Everyone's spending so much time on social media that things kind of like took a degree of 180. Now we're spending, more time, more living longer, but the living longer part is taking a toll because we've transitioned out of the circadian rhythm, and we're experiencing a lot of these, heart, diseases, cancer, liver disease, all these negative effects, brain conditions, mental conditions. It's just interesting to see how that, perspective has taken a 180 throughout time as time progressed.
Okay, so there you have it, everyone. Circadian clock, our opinion, some facts, and some relevant stories to add into this episode.
Yeah,
Franz,
I think this was a great discussion. This is actually one of my favorite topics that we've actually covered throughout this podcast that we've done. It's interesting. I did a lot more information. I learned a lot more than I actually knew a year ago when I found out about this, and then there's still more information to dive deep into. And again, I mean, we talked about our opinions. We mentioned some facts. So I hope that everyone found this interesting. Um, And if you guys like today's episode, just, like I said, give us a like, comment, rate us, subscribe to us, and be sure to tune in next time. I mean, we're going to be covering some more interesting topics.
Oh yeah, for sure.